Hello, my good friends. This is James Clark, the artist. I'm back. Gotta post the link here so my good friend Adam can join. See if I can find the link here. Hope you're having a great Sunday evening. Once again, this is James Clark, the artist. And unfortunately, the Browns didn't win tonight. It was a great game, folks. It was a close game, but they didn't pull it off. Great team this year, Cleveland Browns. And I hope you're all having a good Sunday evening. I'm going to talk a little bit about pop culture today, just a little bit about Star Wars. And let's see if I can get my buddy on here. Email. And my good friend Adam says give him a second and he'll be joining shortly. So, everybody's having a great Sunday evening. We're getting a little snow here in Ohio. Great. Adam.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. I was promoting the channel. That's why I was like, hold on a minute. Let me finish with the tweets. Let me get out on the interwebs that we're live.
I feel underdressed, my friend.
Well, I wear the same clothes all week. So, it's like Jake, excuse me, they smell really bad. Please move us from these gentlemen. How much for the little girl? Sell me your children. How much for your wife? I
want to buy your children.
I broke down and I went and I found one of these vintage ties from back in the day. So I had to buy it. I was like, yep, that's it.
Nice.
Threw on the white shirt. I was like, okay, because on Fridays on the men's room, a lot of times this is, this is my kind of go-to outfit for that show. So I'm like, all right, cool. And it's just because I told him, I go, well, you dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And I just tease them because, before I'd been in cutoffs in my normal clothes and we just all shoot the shit and have a good time. And then I was like, all right, went ahead and threw it on. They're like, oh, around the holidays, like, oh, you look really good. What are you doing? I go, I just put on real people clothes for once. I figured, why not?
It looks good on you. Looks good on you, man.
So
you wear the hat better than I do. So how you been these days?
Not too bad. Busy with puppies. We got 3 litters, 12 puppies on ground. So that's been a whole lot of fun.
You sent me the pics.
Those are the little ones here in my office. Those are the Frizzies, Frank and Lizzie puppies. All boys, all 4 boys. They're a month old. And then above me, Jelly has got 3 puppies, and they're going to be 2 weeks old. And then just upstairs and behind us, Penny has her 5, and they were born on the 3rd of January. And Penny's was born, or Jelly's was born on the 5th.
Wow, you've been pretty busy these days.
Yeah. January 3rd was the 13th anniversary of me and the missus, and then we had puppies being born. and then a tree just fell down in the woods and wiped out the power, and we had no power for a day plus.
Well, happy belated anniversary.
Thank you, my friend. So I'm like on the third day of this year already. I'm like, yeah, fuck 2021. It sucks. No power. Puppies. Had to go get a generator. Had to get my car to jumpstart the van because the Die Hard battery was dead as a doornail.
Wow, we thought
broke. Man, it was like an epic failure all day long. But I got the generator so I could plug in the electrical heaters to keep the dogs warm and keep the house warm. And 24 hours to 48 hours later, we had power. So,
well, we thought 2020 was bad, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Buckle up, folks.
Oh, hang on here. Wrong glasses. We got the right hat. There we go. So
I had to update my glasses because not only are they actually the right style of glasses, but they've got the 2000s because they're camoed side instead of being black. So when you're on the boat, they're perfect and they'll match anything. And I had a different pair I was wearing for a couple streams, and I remembered I had these when my glasses broke on the third, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've legitimately got a pair of Blues Brothers glasses with the exception of their camoed. I was like, yeah, so I threw them on for one stream, and it's been that way ever since. I was like, hey,
we're on a mission from God.
That's right. I'm on this mission from God to get the men's room to 100 subs. In a week, I've got them from like 50 to 75 because this way, Mr. Tommy Gunn, the one, the only, Mr. Tommy Gunn, who has never had sushi in the 30 plus years on this earth and will not try sushi, he messed up and said, oh, if you can get us to 100 subs, I'll try sushi. So in a week, I've got 25. I'm halfway there. I got to get 25 more people. And then I'm going to drive to Virginia for him eating sushi for the first time right around we're looking February 13-ish, if everything works out right.
Is that Tommy with the Guinea Pig Collective?
No, it is not Tommy with the Guinea Pig Collective. This is actually Tommy Gunn from the men's room. Somebody I met through Appalachian American, which was also another fellow from World Class Bullshitters.
Cool.
And Channel Dad Brian Late from World Class. He's on these streams as well as Prime and myself and Chad. So, I mean, it's Father and I. It's just a bunch of us getting together. It's kind of like the old fan cast days or the Monty days, bro. We all just kind of get together and shoot the shit and have some fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to come visit sometime. There's a lot of good friends I'd like to visit from on here. So, yeah, we go way back, and I'm gonna try and share us out here real quick. So just give me a moment.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the whole plan with the men's room, it started off as a joke, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't think you can get us to 100." And I'm like, "All right, man, I've barely done anything, and it's been a week." I'm like, "So I hope you're ready to eat sushi." And it's like, "There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You're eating it."
Right. Yeah, I haven't tried sushi. I don't know if I'm up for that one just yet. But I guess there's a first for everything, isn't there?
It's literally, and I'm going to put it in the chat too, the men's room, like, subscribe, come check us out on a Friday. It's literally one of those, it just happened to be, I was in the chat in the comment section as always, with the guys, and they were talking like DC or Marvel or something, and I'm just steadily typing away, and I'm like, yo, man, like, let me in for like 5 minutes. Like, let me in and I'll bounce afterwards. I'm like, but this is going to take me forever on a keyboard to type all this shit up. So they were kind enough to let me in, and it balanced real well, and they liked the way it went. And they're like, hey, the Appalachian America said, he was like, hey, I'm going to be out of town. Could you come on in a couple weeks, since I won't be here? And I'm like, yeah, man, sure. I'll do that. And then the next thing I know, I get a text message. Hey, here's a link for tonight's show. Jump on. And I'm like, all right, and I've been with him ever since.
Cool.
Just hanging out and having a bunch of fun. And he'll do coffee and gaming early in the morning, 6:30, 7 a.m. our time, Eastern Standard Time. He'll be playing games and stuff. He's playing the Mad Max game, which was a lot of fun. And I jump on there a couple times. If I'm not sleeping, so he'll do some gaming, a little bit of this and that. Tommy Gunn made some videos up. So like I do meme of the week where I find a funny meme. And I go through quite a few of them to get to the best one that I'd found for the week. And he's done a couple different things. Channel Dad Brian Lape gets Beer of the Week. So it's just kind of something fun, something different, because let's face it, entertainment's gone to shit.
Oh yeah,
gone to shit. The whole world's gone to shit. And it's like, well, can you find anything fun to watch? So we're just a bunch of drunk idiots getting together, drinking twisted tea, having fun, and doing like we used to, man, back in the old days.
Well, that's what's important, You're with friends, and I've met a lot of good people like yourself on here, and good friends, and that's what it's about. I'm not.
Oh, it is, man.
So much about monetization anymore. I'm just making friends on here and getting on and having a good time. So. But I'm glad you could pop in tonight. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, you were talking about crappy shows on TV. My fiance and I happened to catch that WandaVision. I don't know if you saw that, but that was an absolute dumpster fire.
It's like, I'm curious though, because in the kind of, it's the homage of the 50s and the 60s, so I'm like, okay, I Dream of Jeannie and some other stuff. So I'm like, okay. But when you hear that voice in the background being like, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Wanda, and then it jumped back with the beekeeper, the little scene and all that. So
Right.
like, part of me where I'm just like, okay, like I gave zero craps about this show to begin with. I know the comic was pretty good back in the day when they did it, but
Right.
apparently I don't necessarily think I'll have to double check with Jez because that's who I've been watching it with from Digital Pollution. But I don't think it's quite gone there. But I am very interested to see where they're going to put it. Is this just her in her head? Is this just So But yeah, I wasn't like, I didn't have a lot of hope to begin with. So I'm like,
Right.
well, let's see what do we
Well,
got.
I guess it's not a complete dumpster fire, but I will say that, I mean, it took a while in the first episode for me even to take an interest. And it, what it reminded me of was that old Bewitched.
Yeah.
You remember that show?
Yep.
Where she like winks or something and then magic happens. So that's what that reminded me was, that old Bewitched.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like slow and drawn out in the beginning. It took a while for me to take a little interest to it, but so I've heard people say they had watched it and they tuned out after like 20 minutes. I mean, I kind of don't blame them, but it's not the best thing I've seen on there. But I guess they're trying something new.
It kind of felt like they're building though. So like you got episode 1, and I'm not gonna lie, dude, I did kind of chuckle a little bit when the saucer hit him in the head and shit. Like that was pretty funny to me. I'm like, okay, you've got a little bit of slapstick humor going on. All right, let's see where this goes. And you get from the first episode to the second episode, with the bubble gum, with the big red. And that kind of made me laugh a little bit because as I'm sitting here, I've got, of course, I've got Big Red. It's one of the gums I chew anyway. So I'm like, okay, that was pretty funny. But he got in there and he was all messed up and he was speaking backwards and stuff. So I mean, like there was some humor there, and I could see where especially younger people aren't going to get it because in his early 30s, and like he's like, I don't get it. I go, yeah. I go, but you understand the homage part, to the earlier shows like Bewitched and and he's like, oh no. He's like, yeah, I get it. I go, okay. I was like, all right.
Well, it seemed like the beginning intro was almost exactly like Bewitched. You had the Wanda on the broom, and so it seemed like it was almost identical if you could pull up intros side by side. But yeah, it took my interest toward the end, but I really could have turned it off at any point.
Yeah, like I wasn't even excited. Like I said, man, I wasn't excited. I'm just like, well, he's dead and she's going nuts. All right, let's see what they do with. I mean, they can't really do any worse. So, overall, like I didn't mind it. But then again, we watch those kind of series and reruns and whatnot. So I mean, we're kind of used to, Samantha from Bewitched and all the old classics.
I mean, Bewitched was a good show, know.
Hell yeah.
So I think they were trying to appeal, like you said, to to our generation a little bit more. So
yeah, it just felt like to me like, an homage. It's like, okay, here's this little episode. And then the second one kind of changed, and there was a little bit more, going on within the episode itself, of like the real world hollering at her and whatnot. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then, all of a sudden she's pregnant, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happened. So
then
yeah,
they went
it'll be interesting to say the least. I did enjoy the second episode more than the first.
yeah, I think I did too.
I think it had a lot to do, especially with like the men gossip club and him being straight. Well, he's a commie, and they all die laugh, and then he goes through the cards. And, is that your card? Yeah. Well, then here, take it. And it's like, okay, but yeah, I did enjoy the second episode a lot better. The first one, for a premiere, for a pilot episode, it was a little lackluster, but still, again, it was okay.
And then the second one where they finally go from black and white to color.
Reminded me of Pleasantville, like, okay. Yeah, man. So I had fun with it, to say the least. I remember back in the 90s, we had a show called Mad About You with Helen Hunt was in it, and I think Paul Reiser was in it. They were the main two characters.
Yeah, I remember that show.
Okay. So I remember that. My grandma would kind of watch it. There'd be different stuff that'd be on, from time to time. I never watched all of it, but I got bits and pieces of it. And I noticed on Amazon last night, apparently in 2019, they relaunched it, but they did it with the original cast. So like it's 25 years later from the last episode. Their daughter's grown up and going to college. And it was actually not bad. I think it was a lot better than when they redid the Roseanne, because that first episode was pretty funny, happy wife, happy life, going through the drugs and whatnot, and then got kind of weird, and they threw Roseanne off of Roseanne, and I just quit. I only watched like the first couple episodes and I was done. Yeah. I watched on Amazon all 10 or 12 episodes because I couldn't sleep last night. I had one of those sleepless nights. Tooth was throbbing, nothing was helping. So I'm just laying there watching the show, kind of chuckling and giggling at some of the funnier parts. And then it takes an older guy like us from the 90s, and it puts him into like today's standards of talking to kids in school. His daughter's class ends up in, and they're just basically like, well, you're a bigot. And at the end of the day, you just can't argue with him. He's just like, well, maybe if you smiled more. So, it had some inside old man humor, dad humor in it. But I was thoroughly happy with, like, I can honestly say that's one of the first shows I didn't even know they redid or brought back that I watched, and I was just like, man.
John Goodman looks a lot different now, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He I don't know if he went on a slim fast diet or what, but or he put down the beers. I don't know, but. Looks,
he's still pretty stocky, but I was like, all right. And I've seen him in other stuff where I was like, okay, that's I right off the top of my head, I can't remember what the hell it was I seen him in, but he was in something with Michael Douglas. It was a TV series, but I can't think of the name of it, where he popped in, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember, like, I'd forgotten about hearing about they might do it, and then it just slid under the radar, and it just popped up on Amazon, and I'm like, wait a minute, 2019. I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, let's see. And I hit play, and it was like all the original, all of them. Anybody that's still alive that was in the original cast is in there. And I was like, holy shit! They really did it right.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise to be able to lay there and just watch some silly half-hour TV show like we used to back in the 90s. So yeah, it was refreshing because other than that, like I've had like the old original Knight Rider's been on a couple times, and just older TV series and stuff I'd been watching.
Well, it seems like they're trying to remake a lot. They're trying to come back with a lot of these old shows.
They can't come up with an original idea. I mean, they had Star Wars and they murdered that to death. So
like we got nothing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've said this before, and you and I haven't talked in a while, but to me, this would be the time the animated movies should have been made out the ass, because you can phone call all that stuff in. They can do the movies from the computers like they normally do. This would be the era where anime and animated movies should just be popping up left and right, and they're not. It's been over a year, and we got, I think, they did a shitty Death in the Family, because it was pretty shitty.
Right.
It was nowhere near as good as the comic was.
Yeah. Did you watch season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I watched Mando. I got through season 2. I still liked season 1 better myself. I preferred the first season over the second season, and I watched your video, and I was glad that I see. Like, I love you to death, man, and you're a great artist, right? So
I appreciate that.
the shit out of you. I really do, and I know you're a little older than I
love you too, man.
You know, well, I fucking miss my friends and stuff, but the worst thing happened to me, and it happened back to back. I was right in the middle. I just got off probation. Actually, I wasn't even off probation. Had to get permission to go out of town. So I got permission to go out of town. And a friend of mine for 30 years decided that once we were in Pennsylvania, that he wasn't going to go no further unless he got $1,000. So he tried to take money. Now the deal was we were dropping a dog off in Boston and a dog off in New York, and we were going to Jersey. And the money that we made on this trip was our bro trip. Like, we were going to go to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. We were going to go to the corner shop where they did all the stuff from Clerks. We were going to go see the Soprano House. So, like, this one run, which really is only like a 10-hour drive from my house to where we were going, paid for via the deliveries and everything for the dog. So, like, there's no money out of pocket. And out of the blue, I've known this dude for 30 years, and he pulls that shit. And I go to sleep and get up, and Seth was nice enough to message me, and I found out about Brandon dying. When Brandon died. So I've not been my normal self for quite a while since that happened. You know, it's like I lost a 30-year friendship. Then I found out that, you know, then I'm like, what happened? You know, so, and I've been in contact with his aunt, you know, so when and if they do, you know, proceed with burials and stuff, hopefully she'll get a hold of me and I'll actually be able to go pay respects. But that shut me right the fuck down bad. Because he and I had talked just not that long prior to this happening. And we were talking about Stealing Solo, and he was excited because he got his new book. And, you know, we were talking about upcoming projects for this year because he was going to, when COVID hit, of course, everything kind of went to shit. So the Civil War reenactments weren't really happening. But pre that, we had talked about me going and we were going to film it. So what we were going to do was he could stand there and we'd film the actual action and stuff, and then, okay, be done. But then he could stand there and tell you the importance of the battle, because he loved history, especially Civil War.
Yeah.
So, like, these were things that we talked about. And then, of course, I was on probation for a year, and it's like, all right, well, he's like, once you're off probation, you know, it'll be in Pennsylvania. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, and he's like, you know, well, you can crash with me at my parents' house, or, you know, we'll get, you know, it's like, we'll figure something out. And I'm like, all right, man, cool. So, I mean, it was stuff that was on the burner that we talked about, like the book he was going to write and all that stuff. And then,
well, I will say, I didn't know him personally, but I will say Brandon Moist was big on YouTube. And if we could take a moment of silence, prayers for Brandon Moist and his family. Thank you.
But yeah, so I mean, it just kind of kicked everything off, you know, back to back. And I'm like, oh, the hell with this. And then good news, like, I got off probation early for whatever. I had non-report in because it wasn't like a massive, you know, it was just some BS crime, allegedly. So, you know, whatever. But yeah, you know, I don't have Jake on my hands yet, or, you know, Elwood, so we're good. But yeah, you know, it was just some BS that kind of happened, and I'm like, you know, Mad Dodge Productions passed away that Wednesday, you know, so it was just kind of like, it was just two young guys that knew history and that were good guys. You know, and the older we get, it's just life starts to take shit away from you. But then when like, Brandon was the same age as my kids. So I think that was one of the other, I mean, yeah, he was my good friend, just like you, don't get me wrong. But I think that had a lot more impact on me because he was the age of my kids, just like probably, you know, and I don't know, man. I mean, at 45, I don't know. I just know that it just really messed with my head quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the big 5-0 this year.
I know. That's what I said. I know you've only got a couple years on me. There are a few. Peabody just hit 50. He just had his birthday, and I haven't heard from him in a couple days, but He's
Yeah.
doing all right, so
I'll tell him I said, hey.
Next time I talk to him, I messaged him and let him know, I was like, hey, if you get on. But yeah, it's been an odd year. It was a good way to end out 2020. 2021 started off kind of the same way. And I'm just like, well, what's next? And then we got WandaVision. I'm like, well, it could be worse. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It could have been a hell of worse. So,
well, according to the other witch, KK, we have a lot of Star Wars shows coming down the pike. Got Rangers of the New Republic. My favorite, when I saw the ending of the Mandalorian season finale, was the Book of Boba Fett. That's the one I want to see.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'm
excited. What bothered me was they pushed all the new stuff coming out, though. It's like, and then they're like, well, we're going to do the Book of Boba Fett in December of 2021, but Mando season 3, which is supposed to be the last season, is not going to be out till 2022.
Well, I think they did have issues, whether or not it was Pedro Pascal or whether or not it was some other issue. There had to have been some issues for them to delay production, So, but I mean, we're still getting it, but it'll probably be either winter or spring that we get Mando season 3.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I can say I watched it all. At first, I was extremely emotional when I first watched it at like 3 in the fucking morning after having drank and whatnot. And when I saw it, like I knew what it was. I knew it was Luke, and I saw it, and it just reminded me of conversations that Moist and I had. So I broke down for a minute, and then I rewatched it with Jez. And I mean, there were some BS parts. I'm like, oh, Sasha Banks, okay. It's like Boba Fett's the bomb. You ain't going to be flipping him around. He's going to kick your ass. He's going to, he's got his armor back, but whatever. No big deal. My biggest issue, like, I get the timeline. It just bothers me that, one, we couldn't have Luke either have different clothes or maybe start the beard. Just
right.
It's been 5 years, a little bit of facial hair, and when you break down that he still ends up drinking titty milk because it's the same timeline. Oh, we're going to switch the timeline. Whatever. I'm not getting into that argument. Like the first time I saw it, though, it kind of broke my heart because it made me remember all the conversations I had with Brandon about Star Wars and this is what we want, Cantina Band. And I mean, I was overwhelmed with grief, and I was just like, okay. And then I watched it 3 more times, and I was just like, of course it's going to be Luke. I will say I was very glad that R2 got more lines in the TV series than he did all 3 movies by Disney. So that was like a thumbs up.
Yep.
I thoroughly loved it.
My old friend Jimmy C popped in. Jimmy C, how you doing, buddy?
But yeah,
we're on a mission from God.
That's right. We're on a mission from God to get the men's room to another 25 subs, so they're at 100. So Tommy Gunn has to eat the sushi.
It's like old times.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I liked it overall. I just wish they do more with it in the aspect of like the outer realm or areas we haven't really seen. Right. I've had this discussion with Jez on Digital Pollution and Utini where he's like, but they've gone here and they've gone there. I'm like, but Star Wars is such an expanded universe. Can we use some of it, please? And I'm not 100% against the fact that it was Luke. I mean, I get it, sure. People saying, oh, this is their way of apologizing. And I'm like, they ain't apologizing. They don't care. They're saying, hey, F you. We gave you Luke. Now give us your greenbacks. We want your money. We want your money.
We gave you Luke. We gave you Luke. Now get the hell out of here.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. We gave you what you want. Quit your bitching. I mean, and I get why they did it and whatnot. Like I said, it's not a big deal, but it would have been cool had it been somebody else, had it actually been, instead of being Luke, somebody else coming up, it could have been Mara Jade. It could have been somebody that had just started training like a young Ben Solo, if you will, to kind of do the shit that we have already seen.
Right. The latest rumor is
overall, I liked it. It was good to see Luke not be a bitch. the thing that bothered me was the fact that the way that a deep fake can look so much better than Disney. And it's like, Disney, how much money you got? Y'all should have this in the bag on how to make it work right.
I think it's like 150 million an episode.
It was like, goodness, I think y'all should have, it's like, we know where all the money went. It was that, putting Luke's young face back. And the only thing that bothered me was I was looking at him like, man, I swear he looks younger than he did in Star Wars, or as you younger people remember it as A New Hope. Us old bastards remember it was just called Star Wars. There was no New Hope. It was just Star Wars.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I overall, I'm not going to complain. There were some pretty good episodes throughout the season. There was some kind of that. I mean, the child eating the little eggs. Like, I was surprised Disney went there, because we're sitting there watching this going, damn well he's not going to be guarding them eggs. He's going to be eating them. And the next thing you see, he's sitting there eating them. And he's like, don't do that.
Somebody's going to be offended at that.
Oh, look at the baby Yoda. He's eating eggs. He's killing off a species as he does it. But hey, it's the last line of that family. But hey,
the kid's got to eat.
Kid's gotta eat, man. Evil little green bastard, mugwai looking some bitch. Yeah. Guru, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, the child. But no, I mean, like I said, I was really kind of looking forward to see what season 3 would be. It kind of sucks. We're going to have kind of some roadblocks here and there. But at the end of the day, again, we've already been insulted and spit on and yelled at. So us being old school Star Wars fans, it was not like, I really liked the Ahsoka episode, and I didn't think I would, because I really didn't care about Ahsoka in the aspect that it was an animated character. I've seen all the animated stuff. I just didn't care. I'm like, all right, whatever, sure. But the way Rosario Dawson played her made me go, I want more of that. I want more of her playing Ahsoka, because I felt that the character was done right, by Filoni, and then the way that they went with it. So
I will say Filoni and Favreau hit a home run with Mando. I think season 2 was a little more fan service, a lot more fan service.
Definitely.
But we did get to see Luke as we wanted to see him after Force Awakens. We didn't want to see Jake, so we got to see him the way we would have liked to see him. Some people got a little more emotional than others. But yeah, it was good.
I mean, overall, man, I can't dock the entire series. I personally preferred the first season over the second in the aspect of storylines. But again, there were good episodes in the first and the second seasons. And it's not where you watch it and you just go, okay, I hate this. I mean, there was no episode where I could go, I absolutely hate this. I don't want to watch it anymore. I just wish they'd use more of the universe. Because it's such a, that's all you ever hear. Oh, it's such a huge universe. Can we use some of it, please? Please, just a little bit more. But we'll see what they do, and we'll see what they do with it. I don't have a lot of faith in them, only because of what we've dealt with the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. That's not to say they won't finally get their heads out of their butts and give us good Star Wars.
Right. And I like that Gina Carano. She's pretty good too. That plays that Cara Dune.
Oh yeah. She's awesome.
She's she's on social media, I guess. She was on Drunk 3PO.
That was kind of cool. We covered that on the men's room a couple times, because it was like he was hungover as hell. I saw the video because I was in the chat making fun of him. And he was showing the Cara Dune Funko Pop, and he was just like, "This is the greatest gift ever." And I'm like, "All right, And he was really hungover. I mean, he was looking hard. He's like, "This is the greatest Christmas present ever." And then they ended up, Gina Carano ended up liking it, and they ended up talking, and then they were able to, I didn't see the show they did together, but they were able to do a show. I thought that was great, because I was like, you know what? It couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Drunk 3PO, he gives his time, goes to other countries and helps the children there, and the stuff that man has done as a human being.
Yeah.
For him to have that happen, I say bravo. I was very, very happy to see that happen, because, again, the man goes out of his way to make the world a better place. And just by saying something like, hey, this is the greatest gift ever. And even if she never would have interviewed with him, just that tweet made his day. You could just tell he's like, my hair was all over the place and I'm hungover as hell. And I don't remember, he looked rough when he was talking about it. And then, later on, like about a week later, they ended up hooking up and being able to do whatever. And I just thought, man, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I've not really streamed with him. I've been in the chat. I've BS with him a little bit here and there. He forgot about the 2 accounts I have with Frank and the Wiener Dog Clan, so he got confused for a minute when I was stalking him because I'm like, hey, I've said for the last couple years the only good 3PO is a drunken 3PO.
Right. OG.
For over 2 years, and I'm like, so don't act like everybody says that, especially and then goes arf arf because he's a wiener dog. So it's like I call shenanigans right there. So yeah, I was like, no.
Hail OG's in the chat.
Greg, what's up, OG?
So yeah, I do. I mean that's a great thing that Drunk 3PO does. The way he has the charities and he gives a lot to charity and goes to countries and helps people out. So definitely a good quality there.
Yeah, man. I mean, come on. The dude takes his time. How many people that sacrifice their time to go to a third world country to help do stuff for the kid? I mean, there's not a lot of people. There's a short list to say the least. A lot of people don't care about other play. And that man, that was one of the first things I met about that I knew about him. Having done stuff on here where he was talking about some of the stuff in the past. He was talking about how they'd made a bunch of Jello and they were eating the Jello, but there was parasites in the water that they didn't know about. And he got sick as hell. And this was on one of his live streams, and I'm in the chat just typing away, But he was just like, yeah, he's like, I got so sick. He goes, but it was so worth it. That's how you could just tell, though. It's like he's not on here to be an ass to be like, oh, pat my back. I mean, the dude was just like, hey, this is what happened when we were there. It's kind of a funny story, They wanted to show appreciation. They made Jello, but they used the river water, which we didn't know wasn't filtered. So, parasite.
Yes, OG, Drunk 3PO's cool. And so, hang on one second.
Good old OG, the one, the only, the man from the great state of Texas.
Deep in the heart of Texas. And also my good friends at the Fandom Collective. Join the Fandom Collective. They do a lot for the Fandom Menace and the community. Help out a lot of channels, promote. Check them out. Thanks, OG. It's one of my many Star Wars shirts in my wardrobe. And I've got a little of my, I don't know if you can see a little of my collection in the back there. I added some lighting to it, just a little dent. Most of my stuff's in storage. So one day when we get a bigger place, we'll be able to display everything. But I got a little display set up, so that works. But yeah, I got some Mando shirts. I got some different, but I'm not as well dressed as this guy right here.
Hey, it's just Sunday. It's my Tuesday clothes, my Thursday, Friday clothes. No, it was just the point of when you said something about streaming, because I almost put on my Fett shirt, my Boba Fett shirt. And I was like, well, do I want to wear one of my solo shirts? Because I've got one with Han with the blaster from Star Wars. I'm like, all right. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, so I'm just going to go with, what I normally wear when I go on air, especially with you. I was like, yeah, this will be some fun because it's been a while since you've been able to stream. And,
yeah. I will gladly pay you back Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's robot.
You look good, man.
Thank you. I try the best I can with what I got. And, I had the beard that was all the way and I trimmed it down to just a goatee and then I was going to trim it and then I left it and the guys got a kick out of when I did the original picture and whatnot. And they're like, damn, you do look, quite a few different people are like, yeah, you do fit in like a blues brother. I'm like, I'm just rolling with it. That's fine. Because I'm on a mission from God to get the men's room to 100 subs anyway. So
yes, we're on a mission from God.
we've been actually playing the shit out of Blues Brothers on was it Showtime or Stars? One of the ones I had it'd been on. They were playing them all back to back. So you get the Belushi documentary they did a couple years back that was pretty good. Then they were playing Animal House and Blues Brothers. So like that's been on forever on the TV. So I've just been kind of watching it day after day as it plays. So because I've got the original DVD. I don't have it on Blu-ray or anything like that. I've still got the old school DVD from back.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually, let's see if I can pull something up here. Just bear with me.
All good, man.
Ready?
Oh yeah.
Rolling, 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 rawhide. Rolling, 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 through the streams are swollen. Keep them doggies rolling, rawhide. Rain and wind and weather, hell bent for leather. Wishing my girl was by my side. All the things I'm missing, good diddles, love and kissing, are waiting at the end of my ride. Move on, head 'em up, move 'em on, head 'em up, rawhide. Cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, rawhide. Keep moving, though they're disapproving. Keep them doggies moving, rawhide. Don't try to understand it, just rope throwing bramble. Soon we'll be living high and wide. My heart's calculating, my true love will be waiting at the end of my ride. Move 'em up, head 'em up, move 'em on, head 'em up, rawhide. Cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, rawhide.
Yeah!
Yeah! Move 'em up, head 'em up, move 'em on, head 'em up, rawhide. Cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, rawhide. Rolling, 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 rawhide.
Rawhide. The TV show ride. Thank you.
Just had to throw that in there.
Oh yeah. Well, I had to. You'll get a kick out of this because you got great humor, great sense of humor. So this is Ugly Dog vodka, and because it looks like it looks like the Wire Wiener Dog we have peanut butter. I picked it up, and it's rum rather. Yes, Ugly Dog rum, which mixes really good with Coke.
Nice.
This is the best part. In a Pepsi glass.
Wow. Hang on 1 second. I gotta plug it into my charger here.
Not a problem. So yeah, that's Coca-Cola in a Pepsi glass. No Pepsi, only Coke. No, only Pepsi.
El hombre. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Sure can.
Yeah, I had a problem with my old laptop, and where I plug my charger in, And on my art stream, Mazurus jumped on and let me know I had static. But with my, I just picked up a new computer, and now I don't have that problem where I can plug the charger in and not have static. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. Being static free is very good.
Yes. And guess we have somebody else wants to join here. Mr. Fulton Mraz.
Well, let's see. Let's see. I don't think Mr. Peabody is alive and awake at the moment, even though he should be, because it is let's see, what time is it? Yeah, it's almost 9 a.m. his time. But let's check real quick and see if I've got any rumblings from the down under.
OG says cheeseburger, Pepsi.
Yep.
No cheeseburger, only Pepsi.
No Coke, only Pepsi. Yes. Hell yeah. Good skits. I will say, I mentioned this with Jezer, I think it was last week, could have been the week before. But when it comes to SNL skits, they turn into movies. It's like Blues Brothers is by far the best, I think, out of all of them that they've ever came up. They've had a couple other ones that were pretty decent, but I still think the Blues Brothers is by far the best skit to a movie.
Oh, yes.
From SNL.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Because, Coneheads was kind of fun, but it kind of drugged out. There was a couple other ones that for the life of me, I can't think of right now. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because we grew up with it, because it was just one of the movies that you grew up, that I grew up with as well. Hell, it was the first LP album I ever owned, was the soundtrack from I had the LP, the soundtrack for the album, the album for that. And that was the very first one I ever owned. And that was a lot of fun. So.
Yes. You remember old Gumby?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! He'd fall off the Empire State Building and get run over by a truck. And yeah, they couldn't. Back in the days, Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. I could go on down the list, but they made some incredible movies, and they got their start on that show. And through the years, here and there, you'd have comedian that made their start, but not like back in the day in the 70s and 80s with SNL. That was the prime time then,
Well, yeah, think about it. You had John Candy, you had Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy, Belushi, Aykroyd, so many from Second City, all these great comedians that came that we got to watch.
It's a Cinderella story. It's about a 500-yard shot. It's in the hole. It's in the hole, ladies and gentlemen. It's in the hole. Mm-hmm. And another fine day for Cinderella.
Can you do me a favor? Will you suck the poison out? I don't know if I want to do that.
Sure, if we kill all the golfers, there won't be any more golfers on the course anymore. I said golfers, not golfers.
Oh, yeah.
OG says Blues Brothers was Mozart. It will echo for 1,000 years. Yes, it will, my friend.
I still think it's one of the greatest, movies of all times, especially with it being a musical. It just, there's other movies that are musicals as well, but to me, it's just, I don't know, it's always been my favorite. From a wee lad, it's just like, yep, this is it. I've got every one of the movies that, I love Neighbors. I thought that was great. 1941 was hilarious. With, Animal House.
Animal House. What am I? I'm a zit.
Oh, yeah. You bet. Even to the part where he's on the ladder and he's jumping the ladder, and he's sitting there, and she's sitting there and takes off her bra, and he's just sitting there looking. And he looks at you, and he's, winking the eyebrow, and he's sitting there. And next thing you know, you just see him go, And then he falls back, or the bit with the horse. Wait a minute. I thought there were blankets in that gun. Those were blanks in the gun. It just, these movies,
they just can't make movies like that anymore.
Yeah, we couldn't have these movies too. There's no way. The professor getting high, with the students. Oh, good Lord, no.
Right. Too many people were offended.
Mm-hmm. I guess the coolest thing is years later, like my pops, so my stepdad, is a retired Chicago police officer, and he was on the force when they actually filmed Blues Brothers. So he would tell me some of the inside stuff as a police officer. And he's like, yeah, they'd never be able to do. He's like, they'd have air raid sirens off, and when they're driving down the road at 100, like they're legitimately driving at 100 some miles an hour, and they'd have air raid sirens and everywhere people so that they could get the shots, because those were all those weren't CGI shots. That shit was real.
Right.
Right. So it was really cool to hear him as a police officer tell me some of the stuff that the city went through just to make that movie, the stuff they did. And then you go to the actors themselves, where they couldn't find Belushi the one time, and he just went to some guy's house. He's like, hey, you know who I am? Made himself a sandwich, passed out on the guy's couch. He's like, you know who I am? I'm just tired and hungry. Made himself a sandwich. Crashed out on the guy's couch. He was America's guest, if you will. And it's a damn shame.
It says when the aliens spare our planet from destruction, they will cite Blues Brothers as why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in, buddy.
Dang right.
No OG from back in the day, the Craig Johnson reviews for you days.
Yep.
Before a lot of people even had channels. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, definitely. Let's see what else. Yeah, that Lucasfilm, since they split up, I guess they're saying there might be two factions with the High Republic KK faction now. What do you think about that?
I mean, we got through pretty much everything they were going to do. We'll see what comes of it. I mean, I don't know. It's hard telling. People keep waiting on KK to be fired. It's like, well, she's still getting credits in The Mandalorian, regardless, no matter how you look at it. So it's like, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm really wondering, though, with the amount of money that Disney's losing, not to mention everybody else. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all broke as hell. Movie theaters especially. The 16th, I went back on my phone, on my Facebook, and it said, memories. And this wasn't on there. But I found ticket stubs that were in my coat pocket. It's winter. You go through the winter. And I pull it out, and I got this stack of stuff. And on the 16th, I went with my brother, my youngest brother, and we went and saw The Rise of Skywalker together, because we'd seen the other movie, the second movie in theaters. And then, he's like, well, let's finish it up. So we went and we saw it. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then February, I want to say 6th or 9th, we went and saw Bad Boys for Life. Now, it's funny because in January, I bought the popcorn bucket. And I only filled it one time, damn it. The one time to go see the Blues Brothers movie, because then after that, theaters were shut down, and then they were briefly open and then re-shut down. And I'm like, man, I spent I want a year's worth of damn popcorn, man, because I bought the damn bucket with all the intent between like Odin's movie blog and even, working with Jez and the guys, where I'm like, hey, this year I'm going to go start seeing movies. It's only quarter mile down the road from the house. I might as well go see some of these movies everybody's talking about.
Like you said, we got to support these theaters, because if we don't, they're going to go belly up. So all I can say is everybody, try and get out and support your local theater, because they may not be around, in a couple of years. So
shit, I mean, I don't even know if it's going to take a couple of years at the rate we're going, man. I mean, we've got a lack of movies. The Wonder Woman came out, and I mean, I remember watching that going, okay, I get it. It's just a reboot. Haven't been a Linda Carter fan, though. I'm like, this movie's shit, other than the fact that she was at the very end of the movie looking hot as hell. So I'm like, okay, that was like the best part of the entire movie. But I remember watching it going, it's too long. and it just felt like a reboot. So it's like, okay, in case you wanted to know, I always thought that the Wonder Woman that we got from Batman versus Superman and Justice League, it's like she seems so overpowered. But then when you watch 84, you're like, she's underpowered by the meaning of the movies we've already seen because she's superpowered in like 84.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. And I mean, at the end of the day, like it was a popcorn flick. It's like a 6 to a 7 because I don't like a lot of the DC movies they've came out with. To me, the strongest movie DC has come out with, the DCEU's came out with, I loved Shazam. Like that to me was an all-around great movie. I
heard that Justice League was crap.
Yeah.
I haven't. There's so many Marvel and DC movies I haven't caught that I have to go back and check out. So I'm not up to date with that. But I will say, from what I heard, Justice League people didn't care for. But there was a Snyder cut that's supposed to come out.
Yeah, I think next year and fix it. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, here's the problem with Justice League. They tried to do too much too fast. They should have paced themselves better. They should have left it on the cutting floor and let him finish it in the first place. Something those old guys have said from day one. Quit messing with shit. Just let the people do the film and get it done. If something happens, you put it on the back shelf. They could have, Aquaman was okay. Suicide Squad was shit. Batman versus Superman was shit. The animated versions of those movies were so much better. Than the actual movies we got. I don't know. I just, when it comes to DC, especially, that's where I get a little bit picky. Because Marvel, we had a good run. The beginnings of Marvel with you go back to the X-Men, and then it really launched with Iron Man. When they launched the first Iron Man movie, that was the realest to the comics, minus they switched from Vietnam to the Middle East as the enemies. But the truest to the comic book was Iron Man 1. Like that was dead on. And Deadpool was the same way. Days of Future Past, some people liked it, some people didn't, but that read like the comics did back in the day, where it's like, okay, this is great. And then from Days of Future Past, you get the Logan movie, which was, to me, one of the worst movies ever because it was basically Orange Man bad and old white men die and, the world's taken over by Latino, 100% Latino mutants, whatever. But I understood that was them wrapping up the Days of Future Past end of the X-Men and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, there's your little bow. I don't agree with it, but hey, whatever, it is what it is. There were some pretty graphic, cool parts in that movie that were fun too. But I just, when it comes to movies anymore, there's just not been a whole lot to make me go, I want to go see that.
Well, I mean, look at what they did with that Joker movie. I mean, you had a good storyline, a good actor, and look how far it went. I mean, it was movie of the year. And I mean, what kind of special effects did they have in that? They really didn't. I didn't see the film, but from the trailers and what I did see, I saw very little special effects, very little CGI. It was all good storyline, good actors. So that just goes to show what a good story and good actors can do. And I mean, that movie, I mean, it probably got an Oscar, I'm sure.
Overall, like that movie to me, being the Joker fan that I am, like Arthur was not the crime prince by any means, but you could kind of tie a bunch of the movies in with it. And especially when you understand, when you watch this movie, especially if you watch it for the first time and then you rewatch it, because if you don't really know if you haven't seen it overall, it's not a horrible movie. I think it was overhyped. I don't think it's as good as what they said it was. I mean, like it's a 7-8. There's nothing wrong with the movie. You can enjoy the movie. I just don't think it's the be all of films. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. No, I call horse shit. But you can enjoy the movie, you can watch the movie, and then when you take it the way that the movie ends, and then you see how the movie ends, and then you go back and rewatch it going, wait a minute, is this all bullshit? Because remember, the Joker's famous line, it was he wanted his backstory to be multiple choice, and that was in the comic. Right. So, I mean, that's, as a guy with a 6-foot mannequin behind me of the Joker, I mean, yeah, let's get real here. but I didn't hate the movie. But he was no Jack Nicholson style Joker where he was extremely intelligent, you know. But it was a fun movie, and the fact that they said that it was going to be soy and it was going to be this and it was going to be that, and it wasn't. It had the truest statement of any movie I have seen in the last 20 years when they're talking about shutting down the place where Arthur gets his meds. He goes, well, how am I going to get my meds? The caseworker looks at him and goes, they don't care about you. Right. That is one of the truest statements in today's society when you are lower class or middle class or on a prescription that you need to stay alive in the bullshit
or people that don't have insurance, you know.
Yep, I mean, exactly, dude. Like that to me, that was the kick in the nuts they didn't like, because overall the movie itself is entertaining. You can be entertained. You know, it's a good movie, but that line to me tops anything in the last 20 years that was made, because it's just 110% dead on. You know, well, how am I going to get my meds? Oh, they don't give a shit about you. You know, they're closing all this stuff down. I don't know what to tell you, kid. Yeah. You're on your own. Oh, thanks. You know,
it's reality to some people, you know, it hits home. But I mean, just like Mark Hamill will always be my Luke, and Harrison Ford will always be my Han Solo. Jack Nicholson was my Joker, and Michael Keaton was my Batman. But that's only because I haven't seen some of the other films, and that's what I remember as a kid.
Yeah,
you know. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, we come from that era, especially OG too. He's in that mixture of being an older guy. You know, we went to the movies to escape reality. We don't need to see reality in our movies. We just want good movies. Something with a good, you know, get your political BS nonsense out of there. Get your you know, your alphabet letters the hell out of there. Just give us a good movie, something entertaining.
Exactly.
Relax, watch, laugh. You know, and I just go back to older movies because that's where the fun is. I mean, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that was on, you know, Tango and Cash, you know, it's not a great movie, but shit, it was Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. You know, these are movies I remember watching and renting on VHS, you know. So to kick back and rewatch them on Amazon, it's like, okay, great, man. This is something I'm enjoying.
Sounds like the puppies are getting hungry over there.
So let's see, it's 8, so that means the wife should be home from work. So the garage door probably went up, and that's why they're barking. We're like, oh hey, Mama's home. We've got a person here.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love my dog. He's my best buddy. He's my hound. He's like a mutt.
Mm-hmm.
He's part shepherd, part hound. I think I might have sent you a picture at one point. But yeah, he's my buddy. But we've been going for about an hour now, so we'll probably call it quits, and maybe we'll have Adam on another time. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining.
Thanks for allowing me to come hang out, brother. It's always fun to hang out with you, and you know,
you're good people, good buddy, and always good to have you on.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
So I hope everybody has a great Sunday evening. Be safe. Peace out.
Rawhide.